a bucket of pig's blood pours down from the ceiling. The girl on stage gets covered from head to toe. But this is just the beginning of her nightmare. Videos of her being bullied start playing on the big screens next to the stage. The clueless crowd below has no idea they're about to face the anger of a girl with supernatural powers. The story begins with a woman named Margaret White giving birth to a baby girl alone at home. As a religious fanatic, she believes the child is a product of sin and almost kills her with a pair of scissors. However, a mother's instinct kicks in at the last second, and she stops herself. That baby is Carrie White. 10 years pass quickly. Carrie grows into a pretty young woman, but because of her mother's religious control and toxic behavior, Carrie is extremely shy. She doesn't fit in at school and is constantly avoided by her classmates. During water polo class, all the girls change into their swimsuits. Carrie stands to the side, looking nervous and awkward. In her mother's eyes, wearing a revealing swimsuit is strictly forbidden. Watching her classmates flirt with each other completely shocks her sheltered world. While the other kids play, Carrie stands like a statue in the corner, too scared to join in. Miss Desjardins keeps shouting for her to serve the ball. Carrie finally finds the courage to try, but she accidentally hits a classmate in the back of the head. After class, she's too afraid to apologize and heads to the shower alone. Suddenly, she experiences her very first period. Blood starts running down her legs. Carrie runs out screaming for help, but the other girls only laugh and mock her. The school's mean girl, Chris, even records Carrie's breakdown on her phone. Miss Desjardins arrives to stop the bullying. She tries to explain that a period is a normal part of growing up, but Carrie is hysterical. With no other choice, the teacher slaps her to calm her down. When Miss Desjardins suggests calling her mother, Carrie loses complete control. She accidentally causes the water cooler in the office to explode. The teacher and the principal are absolutely terrified. Margaret eventually takes Carrie home at their request. Surprisingly, Margaret doesn't defend her daughter. She just drives in total silence. Carrie asks her why she never taught her about her body, leading to her public embarrassment. Margaret responds with a cold stare and shuts the car door. Just then, a neighbor boy runs by and starts yelling crazies at her. Carrie glares at him, and the boy suddenly trips and falls. Realizing her body is changing in strange ways, Carrie goes inside to talk to her mother. She finds Margaret banging her head against the wall, begging God to save Carrie's lost soul. Margaret believes menstruation is a sign of sin and scolds her daughter. When Carrie resists, Margaret loses it and hits her with a heavy Bible. She then forces Carrie into the tiny prayer closet and locks her inside as punishment. Completely terrified, Carrie screams and begs to be let out. At that moment, a crack forms across the closet door, and the crucifix inside begins to bleed. This supernatural event stuns both of them. Carrie begins to suspect that she has telekinetic powers. The next day, Carrie arrives at school to find everyone whispering behind her back. It turns out Chris didn't just share the video with friends. She uploaded it online. Now Carrie is the target of the entire school. She hides in the bathroom and looks at her reflection, her face twisted with pain. Suddenly, the power inside her explodes and shatters the mirror. Carrie is startled at first, but then she tries to make the glass pieces float. A small smile appears on her lips. She realizes she finally has the power to fight back against the bullies. To master her telekinetic powers and find their source, Carrie heads to the library to do research. She even starts practicing her abilities secretly during class. Suddenly, the teacher calls her name. It's her turn to share her favorite poem. Since her mother forbids outside books, Carrie has never read poetry. The only verses she knows by heart are the dark, intense passages from the Bible. After she finishes, the teacher mocks her, calling the poem disturbing. Just then, a popular boy named Tommy speaks up to defend her. The awkward moment passes and the tension fades away. Carrie has no idea that Tommy only helped her because of his girlfriend Sue. Sue was one of the girls who bullied Carrie in the shower, and she feels terrible about it. She confesses her guilt to Tommy, saying she never should have treated Carrie that way. Tommy suggests she apologize, but Sue doesn't know how to find the words. That's why Tommy stepped in to help Carrie during class. Later in gym class, Miss Desjardins punishes the girls who bullied Carrie. Both Chris and Sue are forced to do extra work as a penalty. Chris is furious and tries to get the other girls to protest. However, Miss Desjardins is even tougher and gives her an ultimatum. If Chris doesn't finish the punishment, she's banned from the prom. Chris panics because prom is the biggest night of a high school girl's life. Still, she's too stubborn to admit she was wrong. Ultimately, Chris is suspended and officially banned from the dance. Chris is out for blood and tries to recruit Sue for a new prank against Carrie. Sue refuses to join her, wanting no part of Chris's dirty work. Chris mocks Sue, calling her a hypocrite who's only acting nice to save her own prom night. Chris's words hit a nerve, making Sue realize she needs to do something more sincere to make amends. She asks Tommy for a huge favor. She wants him to take Carrie to the prom instead of her. Tommy is confused by the request, but he loves Sue and agrees to do it. Carrie is completely clueless about the secret plans happening behind her back. She's way too distracted by the amazing things her telekinetic powers can do. The massive energy from her powers even makes the entire house shake. Margaret senses something is wrong and heads upstairs with a knife. But by the time she gets there, Carrie is already lying in bed, acting like nothing happened. One day, while Carrie is researching her powers, Tommy walks up to her. As a popular star athlete, everyone stares and wonders why he's talking to the weird girl. Carrie feels cornered and looks at him with total suspicion. Then Tommy sincerely asks her to be his prom date. Carrie can't believe her ears. She jumps up and runs away. Tommy tries to follow, but she turns him down flat. Deep down, she wants to go, but she's terrified that her heart will be met with a cruel joke. Carrie hides in the locker room and breaks down in tears. Miss Desjardins finds her and listens to the whole story. She comforts Carrie, telling her she's beautiful and that boys are bound to notice her. She encourages Carrie to be brave, buy a pretty dress, and go to the dance. Carrie looks in the mirror and finally lets out a small smile. When she gets home, she's shocked to find Tommy waiting at her doorstep. Carrie panics, knowing her mother will punish her severely if she sees a boy there. She desperately tries to get Tommy to leave, but he's stubborn. He tells her he isn't going anywhere until she says yes. She asks him why he would ever want to take someone like her. To keep his promise to Sue, Tommy swallows his pride and tells Carrie she's sweet and beautiful. Carrie's heart skips a beat, and with her mom due home any minute, she quickly agrees. After they set a time, Carrie can't wait to go out and find a prom dress. While she's carefully picking out fabric, Chris spots her from a distance. Seeing Carrie happy makes Chris's blood boil with pure hatred. Back home, Carrie tells Margaret she's going to the prom and the mood turns icy. Margaret strokes Carrie's face gently before suddenly snapping into a religious frenzy. She orders Carrie to cancel the date and go to the prayer closet to repent for her sins. Facing her mother's aggression, Carrie finally reaches her breaking point and explodes. Margaret is knocked to her knees, and then Carrie uses her mind to lift her into midair. Carrie desperately begs for understanding, saying she just wants to be a normal kid, but Margaret just glares at her, insisting that she's possessed by the devil. Carrie shows off her terrifying strength until Margaret is too scared to fight back. Margaret is left sitting in the corner, silently watching Carrie sew her own prom dress. Meanwhile, Chris is busy preparing a big surprise for Carrie. To humiliate her for a second time, she enlists her troublemaking boyfriend, Billy. They sneak into a farm and cruelly slaughter a pig, collecting its blood into a bucket. The night before the prom, they break into the school and hang the bucket right over the center of the stage. On the day of the dance, Carrie puts on a beautiful pink gown. She hopes her mother will pin a corsage on her, but Margaret refuses, and instead, Margaret begins to slap herself, trying to guilt-trip Carrie into staying home. But Carrie isn't falling for it anymore and waits nervously for Tommy to arrive. Soon, a fancy car pulls up outside. As soon as she sees Tommy, Carrie flies down the stairs excitedly. Margaret loses it and starts shouting curses at her back. She threatens to tell Tommy that Carrie is the product of a sin. Finally having enough, Carrie uses her telekinetic powers to shove her mother aside and locks Margaret in the prayer closet. Free from her mother's interference, Carrie steps out of the house. The golden sunset hits her, highlighting her sweet, beautiful face. Tommy is actually stunned. He never realized how pretty Carrie could be. Carrie is still incredibly nervous, but Tommy notices her anxiety. He gently helps her fix her corsage and opens the car door for her. He takes her hand and leads her into the prom, the first party she's attended in 18 years. Carrie is already over the moon, but then Tommy asks her to dance. She wants to say no because she's afraid of being laughed at, but when the music starts, she can't resist. She follows Tommy onto the dance floor and they move slowly together. When the dance ends, everyone votes for prom king and queen. Tommy smiles as he checks Carrie's name on his ballot, which makes her heart flutter. What she doesn't know is that the student collecting the votes has rigged the boxes on Chris's orders. Chris knows the blood trap only works if Carrie is standing exactly in the middle of the stage. Seeing her plan coming together, Chris sends a bragging text to Sue. Sue rushes to the school to stop it, but Miss Desjardins thinks she's there to cause trouble and kicks her out. On stage, Carrie is glowing with joy as she accepts her flowers. For the first time in her life, she feels like a normal girl. Then, in a split second, a heavy scent of iron fills the air. Carrie is instantly drenched in disgusting cold blood. Before she can even process what happened, the screens start playing the video of her humiliation in the locker room. Seeing her own embarrassing ordeal play out on the big screen, Carrie is overwhelmed with shock. The students in the crowd don't help. They point and begin to laugh mockingly at her. Carrie finally breaks down completely inside. Her life is totally ruined in an instant. But then something even more terrible happens. The heavy bucket falls from above, it crashes right onto Tommy's head. Tommy collapses instantly, knocked unconscious as blood streams from his head. Within moments, he lies deathly still on the stage. Grief, humiliation, and fury now combine and overwhelm the last bit of reason in Carrie's mind. The rage she has long held back finally erupts without control. Carrie's telekinetic power goes completely out of control. She lets out a soul-piercing scream, and a powerful psychic shockwave explodes outward from her, blasting people off their feet all across the gym. Carrie immediately slams all the doors shut with her mind and locks them, cutting off everyone's escape. She telekinetically sends heavy stage lights, cables, and other equipment crashing down onto the crowd and also triggers the sprinklers to rain water upon everyone. Worse, live electrical wires fall into the puddles, sending powerful currents across the floor. Before long, fires ignite and spread rapidly. Roaring flames and smoke begin to consume the entire gym. Throughout this supernatural revenge, the only person Carrie spares is Miss Desjardins, who once showed her kindness. Carrie even uses her powers to move Desjardins to a corner of the stage, keeping her away from the most dangerous areas. Carrie leaves the burning gym and heads outside. She vows to destroy Chris once and for all. Chris thinks she has made a clean getaway. Carrie simply waves her hand. Chris's boyfriend, Billy, dies instantly at the wheel. Carrie walks toward them slowly and calmly. She's ready to end Chris's life. Chris tries to fight back one last time. She slams on the gas, trying to run Carrie down. Carrie uses her powers again, lifting the entire car off the ground, then violently hurls it toward the gas pumps by the roadside. The car crashes into the pumps and explodes in a massive fireball that swallows the vehicle. Chris is killed instantly. After dealing with everyone, Carrie stumbles back home. She looks for her mother everywhere, but Margaret is nowhere to be found. Carrie is left alone, covered in blood and dirt. She cries helplessly like a small child. Carrie takes a shower to wash off the blood. When she sees Margaret again, she feels immediate regret. She promises to listen to Margaret forever. She tells her mother the outside world is too scary. But just as Carrie kneels down to pray, Margaret suddenly pulls out a knife. She stabs Carrie violently. She believes her daughter is consumed by the devil. She thinks she must kill the demon to save her soul. Carrie is terrified and in shock. She desperately tries to escape. In desperation, with the last of her strength, she uses her telekinetic power to make every sharp object in the kitchen fly through the air and impale Margaret's body in an instant, pinning her to the wall. She twitches a few times before falling limp and dying. Carrie is horrified to see that she has killed her own mother. Just then, Sue arrives at the house. She wants to help Carrie, but Carrie doesn't trust anyone anymore. Carrie breaks down completely and her powers spiral out of control once more. Countless stones begin raining down from the sky, pelting the already damaged house. Just as Carrie is on the verge of killing Sue, she suddenly senses another life force within Sue. Sue is pregnant. Carrie gently tells Sue that she's pregnant with a baby girl. Sue is completely shocked by the news. Finally, Carrie forgives Sue for the hurt caused in the past. She uses her last bit of strength to telekinetically push Sue out the door to safety. Then the house collapses with a loud crash. Carrie is buried under the rubble alongside her mother, Margaret. And that's where our story ends, friends.